In 1941, you were drafted into the United States Army. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like being a black man in the service during World War II?
Yes, World War II, well, you had segregation in the Army too at that time. You had to go to the black unit. You couldn't go to the white officers club or non-officers club, non-commissioned officers club. You still had, this is below the Mason-Dixon line now. Up north was different. New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, different. But any time below Mason-Dixon line, you had to go to those black facilities. You were segregated. You had white officers in the Army, but you didn't go to the white officers club or the non-commissioned officers club. You were segregated, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line, Maryland, on down.
Now, during the war, did you serve, were you in Europe during the war, or were you in the United States?
Well, I was in the United States for 3 years. I was in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. Then I went to Massachusetts. Then I went to New York. Then I went back up to Boston. That's where I got shipped overseas to France. And then England. From England, we went to France. And from France, we went to Belgium on to Germany. So we kept moving.
What was your job in the Army?
Well, we guarded most of the time Class 1 and 2 dumps, gas and food. So what they do, they'd alternate. Now you had the 101 was in there, the airborne. They take care of most of the fighting. We did most of the guarding, the dumps. We called them the dumps, which was food and gas dumps.
Was the 101, was that a white unit?
The airborne white unit, right.
Sure. So they didn't allow you or your unit to go out and fight during the war?
No, not at that time. Later on they did.
Did you actually get to fight in the war?
Well, I was behind the lines. I mean, as they move up, they move the dumps up, so you have to be there to guard the food and the gases. If not, sabotagers would probably come by and blow them up.
Sure. Could you explain a little bit about that, it being in a segregated unit during the war and having to, say, guard what you have to guard as opposed to getting out and fighting in the war? How did that make you feel?
Well, it felt like you were shortchanged, you know. You wasn't really a first-class soldier because you wasn't up front. So later on, we got to get up closer, but during that time, they didn't want us up front. Didn't want you to get any glory or any other thing by being a soldier.
Sure. Was there a sense of pride? Did you have pride for fighting for the country?
Yes. You had some black soldiers who'd been willing to go up and give their life, you know, on the front line.
Sure.
But it just, at that time, it just wouldn't work.
I guess one question I'd like to ask is I get that sense of pride from you for fighting for your country, but going off to fight a foreign war for a country that segregates you at home, is there, I mean, how does that make you feel? How did that make you feel at that time?
That's kind of a bad omen, but you want to serve your country, and this was what you used to doing. Segregation, you know, was what it was all about in Maryland, so you kind of understood it, but you fighting for somebody else's freedom, not for your own, come back and find the same thing. I mean, a little disheartening.